Hello, everyone, and welcome to a rare Thursday of Kickstart Your Weekend. It's been a great week for crowdfunding games, and there's really cool stuff going on right now. So let's just dive right in. We've got something about what happens if you're dead and you want to keep on doing stuff, and something about what happens if you're in some kind of Slavic dystopian sort of cyberpunky wonderful future of doom. Let's crack on with it. So, with Devious Dungeons, Foreboding Forests, and The Coolest Cats, my name's Phil, and welcome to the Dark Orb and Kickstart Your Weekend. Rode with Bruce. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
All right. I quite like
Hey,
this. We're starting the weekend early.
We are. I could do with the drink, to be honest with you. It's been a long week so far, but we've got one day left. Yeah, how are you doing? What's going on with you?
Nothing too much, just kicking back, getting ready, as we said, for the weekend. Getting ready for next weekend because it's we're planning to nip down to Aircon and play a little bit of that. Yeah. I got a bit of Dungeon Crawl Classics.
Remind me.
It's in Harrogate.
Okay. Yeah. And is that not this weekend coming, but the weekend after?
It's next weekend, yeah. It's the 9th.
The 10th. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have a look at the calendar, and if I can make it, I'll come along, actually. I hadn't realised when it was. I don't know what we've got committed. This weekend, what we're doing is we're going to head over to Newark for Hammerhead, which is a tabletop wargaming thing. We're hoping to go to Salute this year. It was a very spontaneous last-minute thing. We're going to go to that. But Hammerhead has actually some of the vendors that we were wanting to go to Salute for. And it's half an hour up the road from where we live. So that's this, I nearly said Friday then, this Saturday the 4th in Newark. It's £5 entry. I think it's at the race course. And I'm quite excited. We're not going to do any wargaming, but we'll have a look at the vendors. And some suppliers that I really like, including Mercer Miniatures and Barwell airbrush supplies as well. So, Barwell Body Shop, in fact, is what they're called, where I did my airbrushing course. And that should be really fun. We have some people in the chat. Millie and Mohammed, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to turn the chat overlay on now over there. And so any new comments will show up. Please do join in. Great to see you. And exactly, Millicon? Millie. Aircon, indeed. I've never been Millicon. I've never been to Aircon. It was always too far away. But now that we are in the wilds of the East Midlands instead of down towards London, these things are much more accessible. And it could be quite fun. And Millicon, there we go. That's too much. That would be an amazing convention, to be honest with you. It would be super efficient.
She just poster over the UK Games Expo Go around with posters.
That's now what I'm going to call UKGE from now on. I think that's it. Oh boy. Right. We've got a couple of great products to look at today, and I must confess I'm not quite as prepared as you might be able to tell as usual. But I think these products are both really interesting. The first one being the Revenant Society. And it took me a moment to realise that the Revenant Society has actually been put out by Ryder Games, who are no strangers to the tabletop gaming scene. Obviously, you know Ryder Games for Final Girl, especially. But they've done so many different things, lots of graphic novels. Detective City of Angels, another game that they did, which I never played, but I always thought was superb. Looked superb, at least. And Saloon Tycoon. Yeah, there's a few things that they've done. And I believe that they've got Julia Hearn involved now. Julie was originally with Greenbrier Games, or last with Greenbrier Games, who put out Folklore, which was one of my favourite tabletop games of all time. So I'm pretty intrigued by this game. It's a kind of powered by the apocalypse adjacent game as well, from what I can tell. Shall we take a look? Yeah, let's do it. Hang on. Let me try and remember how to drive this thing. Boom. Yeah, there we go. Right. Let me just adjust things so that it all shows up a little bit better on the screen. Annoyingly, now everything is the wrong size and I can't see what I'm doing. So there we go. That'll do for now. So, as we said, the Revenant Society is an RPG where you solve the mystery of your own murder or be doomed to relive it forever. And it's a powered by the apocalypse style game where you play with a number of players acting as revenants, and the GM is basically there to make things worse. About 2 to 4 hours to play, and this is really interesting. There's kind of an Inception element, I think, to the way this looks like it plays out. Bruce, have you taken a look at this as well?
Yeah, I took a little good look at it. It's another one I've got. This one on a watch. So I'll make my decision in the last 48 hours. I'm quite tempted by it, and I did watch a bit of the one of the actual play videos they have up there as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. It's not just about your murder. It's you could have died in a different way, and one of the things they say in the opening, in fact, it's actually in the opening video, you could be reliving to try and save somebody's life.
Right.
But you've got to be
Yes.
careful how you interact with that world, because if too many people sort of notice you, then there's a thing called watchers, and they want to keep you in this loop. So there's a sort of doom mechanic to it.
I think there's quite a lot of work on the GM for this because effectively, we'll go through the campaign in a second, but effectively what happens with this is that you go through a period of time and then you get to that end, the end of that sequence, and then you kind of go back and do it again in a kind of Groundhog Day-esque way. That was my takeaway from it. Anyway, let's see. So, an RPG where you must solve the mystery of your own demise before the next time loop starts, or be doomed to repeat it. The afterlife is only the beginning. You're connected to an event that holds heavy consequences for all of mankind. The catch is you can't quite remember everything about your time with the living. You're tangled in fate's web, but you're not sure how. And yeah, first of all, I love the style of this. I'm a big fan of Art Deco. I just really love it. And in fact, this is a conversation that we were having in Discord with another member of the patrons. And if you're not a patron and you like what we do, then we do have a Patreon. The link will be below in the show notes when I go back and add them. Because this is very kind of spontaneous to run this episode today. So by the time you look at this, probably it'll be down there. But yeah, we were talking about the style and how tempting it is to just grab everything that might be in any way kind of Art Deco style because it's so pretty. What do we see here on the actual write-up? In the Revenant Society, the endless loop beneath the city from Van Ryder games, you take on the role of a revenant, an undead being in either 1910s Paris or 1920s New York, working together to navigate the thin veil between themselves and the living, unravel the mystery of why they haven't moved on, and prevent shattering events from happening. Luckily, they have some supernatural abilities to assist them. As Fate Weaver, you'll assist the group with navigating their skills and exploring their relationship to each other. There's a catch. If you do not solve the mystery before time is up, you will start over again. Fail too many times and you will be stuck in that loop forever, repeating those same events with no hope of eternal rest. I remember reading this first time round and getting a little bit irritated that they couldn't make up their mind which tense they wanted these 3 paragraphs to be in. It's like, me, you, they, us. It was really pretty. I love what it comes with. So you get that deluxe box with the core rulebook and the deluxe box. I mean, that's lovely. You had that on the splash screen as well. a couple of maps, 5 scenarios, a loop board, because you kind of have to keep track as the GM, and this is what I was saying earlier, as the GM, there's a bit of extra work you need to kind of go through. But you get a loop board which tracks the times and locations moves you through your game session. There's one side for one-shots and one side for mini campaigns, a map of intrigue, character sheets, memory cards, some minis, which is lovely, some dice, tokens, and the screen, which is really pretty as well. And yeah, you can have the option for doing this as digital or as physical.
So yes, you can just get the core book. Yes, it is certainly something that looks interesting, especially after we played one Powered by the Apocalypse game previously, and seeing how the plays, it's still got similar moves in there. And there's quite a lot in the character sheets design. They give away how you want to die and come up with the story and build up that relationships. And you do get sort of special powers as a way. So one of them, when I was watching, had chosen that he died by poison. He took a flask, and interestingly enough, on his character sheet, he took poison breath as his. He got poison breath as one of his powers. So I thought it was quite an interesting narrative onto this, to the way they built the character out.
There are a few plays out there. I haven't looked at any of them myself. That's really interesting. They do say on the screen, on the campaign page, it's inspired by Powered by the Apocalypse, and you roll 2d6 for your moves. There are group moves and character-specific ones. Have success, partial success, or a miss. It's up to the Fate Weaver, which is your GM, to decide kind of what that means. And it could be that you gain or lose information, you receive damage, or more watchers. So basically, your antagonists are added to the board. The game starts with character selection. So you kind of know basically who your character was in life, but you don't really remember too much. And then there's the playbook basically informs some things about what you can do and the kind of person that you might have been based on your abilities, etc. And then there's a cooperative effort, as they say, between the GM, the Fate Weaver, and the players to basically determine how everything kind of pulls together with the shattering event. I think it's really interesting. This idea as well that you're revenants, you're trapped in this time loop, and that's normally kind of from midnight to dawn as well. So basically that nighttime period that ghosts actually, theoretically or allegedly roam the lands. And you just try and find out as much as you can. Then, I mean, one thing I was reading through as well is this idea that that you have fixed events that can't change, and that these become canon, and they get decided at the table.
Yeah, and I see there's a lot also with the card bits of it. Yes, just reading Millie's comment, it feels like an RPG version of the Time Stories board game. I was actually having a look at the designers involved in making this, and they do come from a board game background. I noticed that one of them is also working on the expansion for Alice is Missing, which is another Kickstarter happening just now as well.
Yeah.
So that was quite an interesting point. So I'm not surprised to see that in the deluxe it looks board gaming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And yeah, if you haven't played Alice is Missing and you've got some friends that are going to be able to cope with the idea of you playing a game where you can't physically talk to each other. And so we played it actually online, and we used Roll20 in order to facilitate the cards. But you could just as easily play it at the table, but just do it all via like something like WhatsApp or even Discord, but actually in person. But it's a really interesting narrative game that's very much set in real world. There's no, well, I suppose there could be, but basically there's not kind of built in supernatural element. It's just a friend has gone missing, and how do you deal with the situation as it unfolds? I loved it when we played it, and Neil from Paladin Roleplaying kind of facilitated that, and it was a lot of fun. It's a shame we didn't record it, really, but I mean, it's kind of hard to record when you just like got screens. But yeah, this game itself, you're right. I mean, the way that it's kind of laid out is very board gamey as well in places, and the kind of components that you've got, like the map of intrigue and this sort of stuff. And we can see from the animated video there, gives you an idea of what you have with the counters, etc. I like this as well. On rare occasions, a door to limbo opens up, and if a curious living being were to step through that door, they would dissolve into the shadow, turning into a watcher. They may go through the doorways between the living world and limbo, but cannot interact directly with either the living or the dead. Seeing Revenant trapped in the time loop fills them with the greatest pleasure, because that's the only thing that's worse than being a watcher. That's quite funny. Content warnings, obviously you're dealing with death, murders, proud hell, that sort of thing, so that's something to be aware of. Let's look at the pleasure levels. Digital. Yeah, if you're kind of short on space, or more importantly, if you're short of money, then that's certainly an option. But I do feel that this is one of those games that is going to really benefit from having a print copy. There's the core book, 40 quid. $40, right? It's what, 30, 35 pounds. Let's have a look. It's probably transposed. Yeah, 34 quid. There we go. That's a good guess. So that gets you digital stretch goals, the book itself. Then you've got the deluxe box set, which obviously everyone else will refer to as the fill level.
Oh yeah.
To be honest with you, I do genuinely think if you're going to back this as a GM, then yeah, you kind of have to go for this level. Gets you all of those components which we were talking about, and it does look gorgeous. And there are some stretch goals as well. Custom dice, it definitely needs those, because the ones on the picture are slightly undramatic. And an additional scenario, hopefully many more. And yeah, there are several, I think there are several actual plays out there, but certainly there is at least one. Is that the one you watched?
Yeah, I just watched the one where they stuck on the video. Had a look at that and just got bits of it. I didn't watch it fully, but got enough to get an idea of how the game plays. The one thing I did pick up looking at the levels is just be mindful of our favorite topics right now that we grumble about is shipping and taxes. It feels like a blues song almost, or a country and western song. Shipping and taxes. So I reckon there'll be another on top of the full level, about probably another $40 on top of that.
Yeah,
for us, 40
I
or
mean, they say
$50.
$20 for shipping, but you're right. We also have to add tax to that, and they probably haven't included that. And if it was just a book, then it wouldn't be so bad. But you could argue that this is not just a book because of the way that it's packaged.
No, to be fair with them, there is a link in there that will explain roughly the taxes.
Okay.
There it is. Just click there for the tax bit. They'll give you a rough idea of what it is. Yeah.
So yeah, coming into the UK, $24 for digital, $90 for shipping and tax for the deluxe box set. That seems incredibly high compared to the shipping. It just doesn't seem to add up, does it? Couldn't you compare it to this?
Yeah.
It's not going to be $50 or $70 worth of taxes to the UK. So yeah, maybe Van Ryder Games, if you get an opportunity to look, maybe you could compare the two. It doesn't seem to track between the $20 for shipping and the books. I would have thought the book itself would be VAT exempt. This is your industry more than mine, so you guys know better than I do. But I was under the impression that books are kind of VAT tax exempt. when they're imported, unless that's changed. But that jump on that table for EU and UK backers, USD $24 is what it says on this table to the UK, and for our friends in Sweden, $25. That's just. Oh, hang on, I'm misreading this completely. It's including that and the product itself. So actually, $75 for the product, $90 in total for the pledge cost, including VAT. So it's $15 in VAT. Okay, I apologise. Yeah. So then plus your shipping, you're looking at $35 to the UK, $35 in tax and shipping. And then to Sweden, we have lots of supporters in Sweden. It's like $4 on top of that. So that's actually pretty good. Yeah. I just can't read. It's been a long week. Leave me alone.
I've said anything.
Yeah, but I can feel the weight of the internet finally judging my inability to pass things that are right in front of me. Yeah, okay. So you're looking $95 for the whole product into the UK or Sweden or kind of basically Western Europe, I guess, or the UK. I actually think this is really interesting. I love the look of it. I'm disappointed it doesn't come with a couple of skulls. That would be awesome.
Well,
And
maybe that'll be the next stretch goal.
Yes. DOS skulls. Was there anything else that we should have discussed with regards to the gameplay? Starts with character selection. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Trapped in a time loop. Oh yeah, so the Fate Weaver needs to write down notes of all the events that happened during the game on the loop board, and that's how you keep track of the watches as well, what loop you're on, etc., etc. So that's where it's kind of board gamey. I presume that's with like dry wipe markers or something. Otherwise, it's going to be horrible.
Yeah, and I think there's another bit which is a bit board gamey. There's a map of New York, and I'm assuming the other side's going to be Paris.
Okay.
What they're looking for, and you can block certain things off in that map.
That maybe in the update.
So that you've used tokens for that.
Okay, I totally missed where that is, but look, they're pretty. Those are special dice. That makes it more worthwhile.
Art Deco dice.
Aye, I haven't got any Art Deco dice. There's the team, and yeah, Julie and the team at Greenbrier did an amazing job with folklore. So I'm very confident that everything that she is involved in will turn out stunning. I was just looking to see if there's any information about that map, but it's somewhere, and I've just scrolled past it. But it's all good.
Yeah.
And there's an idea of what the character sheet looks like, which is cool. I think it's awesome. So yeah, we'll be keeping our eye on that. $90, including shipping, to come to the UK. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Is it something that you might consider buying, or is it something that you, if you had the money, obviously would jump on? Is it something you'd really like to play, but you don't think you'd be very good at running? Or is it completely not up your street?
Or would you rather someone else buy it and you sit in and play in that version of the game?
I mean, that's normally what happens, isn't it? You have the
people that's it. So if you know somebody
who
does like their Kickstarter, maybe that's what you need to do and twist their arm.
Yeah, I'd never do that. I would never put myself in a situation where I'm trying to twist people's arms and make them buy things. Definitely not. Welcome to Kickstart Your Weekend. Yeah, I think that's really cool. Before we move on to the next one, let's talk a little bit about. There was an honourable mention. We had a couple of honourable mentions, and let's see if I can grab that first one that we spoke about earlier on. I can find the link because we had a conversation about this in our Discord, and our Discord is open to everyone. So if you are interested, we normally have the Discord link at the bottom of every YouTube video. So feel free to join us. There was a role-playing game that appeared last year, called Hieronymus, which was about, well, kind of based on the works of Hieronymus Bosch. And he was a kind of surrealist artist, if you don't know. And Bruce, you actually identified this one as a really interesting set of miniatures.
Yes.
And
Yes. This is.
I'm with you. I think this is really interesting. So let's have a look. The Hieronymus Bosch tabletop miniatures. I'll hopefully be able to get these to actually show up as a decent size. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. That was dramatic.
That's good. That's what you need, a man with a tree on his head.
I've already got one. But yeah, so there's only a couple of days left on this. So if you're watching, kind of leading up to the weekend, then and you're interested, then jump in. They're in the UK, which is lovely. It's nice to support local. I've been fascinated by the art of Hieronymus Bosch since I was a teenager. After 10 years of sculpting miniatures as a profession, I feel it's time to translate some of these works to tabletop. And these are freaking awesome, I've got to say. So first of all, if you're not familiar with Hieronymus Bosch's work, it's definitely worth having a look. Not everything there is kid-friendly, so be mindful if you're looking at something like the Garden of Earthly Delights, that, there's some quite macabre stuff, and it's out there. But just look at these. You can kind of see how Bosch is an influence on a lot of the kind of the surreal stuff that we kind of take for granted now. Even like, Terry Pratchett kind of style things.
Yeah.
So this is based on the work of a painter from quite a while ago, actually.
500 years, he mentioned?
Yeah, I was about to Google it because other search engines are available. Because I can't think of when he was around, but it was a long time ago. And when you actually look at the art, he was a Dutch artist, it doesn't look like it's that old. 1450 to 1516. So yes, but when you look at it, it looks really contemporary. His artwork is just something, something else. Palettes very similar to how Dali painted. Just you wouldn't think that they're more than 100 years old, if that. Well, at least for me. Here's some of the artwork that it's based on. Yeah. I had not scrolled down far enough to spot that. But you can see, it's just some really quirky stuff 500 years ago. I don't know what Andrew has done before, so we're going to take a quick look.
I think he's done similar projects.
Let's have a gander. Mara. Yeah, some really interesting stuff. Oh, I remember the folk horrors one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's really...
Oh, yeah, I remember Dagon as well.
Yeah, he's actually done really good. I'll tell you the one thing I do like what he's doing. Quite a lot of Kickstarters for miniatures are STLs. I'm not a fan of that myself. This is not an STL. This is going to be a resin, as he mentioned. He has quite honestly said they're not the easiest of sculpts.
Yeah.
But to me, this is something that would fit perfectly for... I'm thinking of the Merc Bori miniatures spin-off, Forbidden Sands. These would be perfect for that. They're so odd and they're fantastic and they fit right in.
Yeah. I just seen Millie's comments about the previous thing we were looking at, Revenant Society. Feels like an RPG version of Time Stories. I've only played the original story in the Time Stories box. Loved it. And I know exactly what you mean. It's very similar to that. And you'd want to see it run. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I'm really impressed with this campaign. I think these look fabulous. They really do. And in terms of price, let's not forget these are handmade resin. One set of 10, 25 mil, 60 quid. That's your only pledge level, I believe. And I think that, to be honest with you, that's pretty good price.
6 quid resin money is not bad.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not sure what else I can say on that. I think they're really intriguing art. I've always been interested in actually, because of the Bosch book series. That's how I first started looking at Hieronymus Bosch works. So, a few years ago. But yeah, just there's something different about that art style. Let's digress over to Slavic punk, old times. And that's really cool. So I hadn't realised that. Penny for a Tale. So our friend Mitch from Penny for a Tale, who did an actual play for us. Let me just turn this off for a second. Did an actual play for us with Necrobiotic, which is one of my favourite actual plays that we've had on our channel at all. Really dark. If you be aware if you want to watch it and you haven't seen it before. It's very dark setting, and it was one of the more bleak games that we've run, but phenomenal. Really a lot of fun for us. And that's back on our my watch is binging at me. That's back on our YouTube, so feel free to go and have a look and check that out and let us know what you think. But Mitch has done an actual play of SibirPunk. Very, very cool. On Penny for a Tale. What is SibirPunk? So it's Sibir, Sibir, because it's set in the kind of Slavic, Siberian kind of universe. And it is a translation, if you like, of a game world from Mikhail Gorkovsky, who wrote a bunch of books. You can get them. I'm not sure if they're translated into English. I think they probably are, maybe. But this is a tabletop role-playing game of that. And there is a video game as well attached to the property. The world of tomorrow no one's asked for, but everyone deserves to get. What are the odds? One cannot help but wonder when looking at all those chrome-heavy, all shiny and neat futuristic visions of what the new times are supposed to bring. Are we really that clever and all capable of inventing these new technologies, revolutionary solutions, and visions that would change the world as we know it? Well, in a brief, no. No. Slavic punk takes you into the world, into a grimly realistic vision of the world that humanity is actually capable of building. And already I love it because, to be perfectly honest with you, I love cyberpunk as a style. I love the futuristic things. I love science fiction. But as we advance and we look back at things like Blade Runner and it's like, oh, it's now. Well, Bruce, how's your flying car coming along?
The only way a flying car works for me is if I just get a little toy one and just throw it. That's about it.
and then, being as we're in this age of austerity, you start thinking, "Crap, I'm not sure I can afford to buy a new one now that I've broken my one toy car." Most of yours are probably made of resin anyway. So it takes you to the grimly realistic vision of a world that humanity is capable of building. Actually, this is the world we've already built. And its main problem is years have gone by and not that much seems to have changed. Not in the actual subject matter of things, at least. On the outside, it's indeed the brave new world that the Slavic countries have so long fought for. Their peoples have finally won their rights, freedoms. Everyone has opportunities, choices, and prospects. Technology has made significant advances, and everything seems to be within one's reach. But sadly, most people's hands are apparently way too short. Small hands. After decades of political and economic turmoil, Eastern Europe has decided to set its own course, casting aside the West's strive for environmental neutrality and instead making a bid on what at the time seemed like their competitive edge. Its countries reverted to the good old ways of fossil fuels, heavy industry technologies, and a desperate attempt to catch up with and hopefully overtake civilization of their more advanced opposite numbers. The schism ran much deeper, dividing the two worlds with a new iron curtain of incompatible technologies, separate information technology spaces, and dusted off set of political prejudice. it's focusing on the widely neglected aspect of Eastern European cyberpunkish vision of the future. Simple, catchy premise. Slavs always do things their own way. There's really no need to make things weirder or more complicated or absurd than they already are in Eastern Europe. And I mean, it's not a slight to say that, yeah, there is actually, between Eastern Europe and Western Europe, things are just different. You know, you've got the Slavic influence. There's also obviously the Russian influence, which is just a different outlook. This is not a political statement. It's just the realism that there are different ways of thinking about things. I have many colleagues actually from Eastern Europe, and they're absolutely wonderful. But you know, we just like sentence structure even is different, and yeah, it's great. I love it. I'm a very kind of multicultural person anyway, and I just think it's really great to see how kind of people process things in different ways. But actually, you know, kind of spending time even in places like Eastern Germany and Poland, etc. You know, it's just different, and there's no reason to pretend otherwise. Looking at the artwork of this is just phenomenal. I just really love this. And yeah, let us enter the dystopian Slavic future that cyberpunk has to offer. The future is Sibirsk, the crude, yank and tuck dilapidated monument to a civilization covered in coal dust, dark, stinking alleyways where one can lose their life for a bottle of clean water, synthetic food, poisonous air, and people with their bodies packed up with cybernetics so much it's hard to say whether they are human anymore at all. And then you've got the 5 precepts. Don't think. If you think, don't say. If you think and say, don't write it down. If you think, say, and write it, then at least don't sign it. And if you think, say, write and sign it, then don't you be surprised.
Sounds like every mortgage or every bank loan or account you'd ever take.
And to be honest with you, having brought up with an Irish Roman Catholic family, it's not that different. It's A4, which is great. Every book that I've got coming in at the moment feels like it's kind of journal size. You know, certainly everything recently has come in at journal size or thereabouts. 220 pages. I love the art style. I don't think I've got anything else with quite this art style on the shelf right now. The character sheet, it's got enough things on it. It's certainly not uncluttered.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as crunchy as compared to, say, Cyberpunk Red or even Cyberpunk 2020,
Exactly.
which is crunchy as the kibble they serve you with.
Yeah, it really is. It's like trying to eat muesli without any milk, you know. And that's the thing is, I love Cyberpunk as a setting, but I don't enjoy playing the game because there's just, as you said, there's a lot of crunch going on, and I wouldn't want to run it. That's not to say it's a bad system, but I mean, you know, you guys have seen what we run on the channel, and it tends to be fairly rules light. I just haven't got the energy for all that maths at the end of the day.
I won't touch on the artwork, just because it does. Looking at it, all the characters do really feel, and I'm not trying to make this sound prejudiced, but that was how I would imagine a cyberpunk character from the Eastern Slavics look like.
Yeah.
It captures that feel right away. Just look at it and go,
It does.
that's exactly how I see them.
Yeah, absolutely, but there is still that kind of Blade Runner element as well. There is a demo of the core book on drive-through. I have not looked at that. I probably should have done. The tests are that it's a dice pool, so basically, if your aperture is 4, then you roll 4 dice, and difficulty 3 means that you actually, I don't know how the difficulty level goes. Test pass with number of dice roll successes equal to or higher than the difficulty. Okay. Skill level determines dice roll success range. I'm struggling to see. Oh, okay. So difficulty is 3. That's probably, is that the number of successes you need? Yes. Okay, I got it. So, if your difficulty is 3, then you roll your die. You need 3 successes, and if you're professional, then 3 or above is considered success. If you're skilled, then 4 or above. If you're unskilled, then 5 or above. So then you say, okay, I've rolled 4 dice. I've got a 3, a 4, and a 5, but I'm a pro, so that's actually 3 successes. If I'm skilled, I've only got 2 successes. It's pretty simple. Dice pool games, particularly the D6, like Year Zero Engine, for example, are notoriously hard anyway. As a GM, certainly you'd be maybe surprised at how swingy it is when your players are going to roll 9 dice and they only need 1 success. But it's not as common as one might think, or compared to rolling a d20 where you kind of think, oh well, I've got a 50-50 chance of rolling 10 or above. It kind of doesn't feel somehow even. Look at the stats, and it is with 10 dice, but it doesn't feel that way. Yeah, that's pretty straightforward. Slav Bravado, there's a lot of text here. I'm not going to play the video. Let's look at the rewards. This is actually where it gets kind of interesting, to be perfectly honest with you. So I'm going to skip right down to here. So €1, fine. Yeah, you're just in on the pledge manager. The PDF version is €15. So at the moment, with our current exchange rate rocking and rolling the way it is, we're about euros to pounds in the UK, pretty much. Yay, Brexit. The gift that keeps on taking. The Gopnik bundle is basically your hardcover book and your PDF. So we've gone from 15 to 39, so it's 25 quid for the 24 quid for the hardcover, and then 15 quid for the PDF if you want to look at it that way. Matey bundle, they throw some dice in. Those dice remind me of everything that I dislike personally about the Tales from the Loop dice, but they look like Q Workshop dice in terms of the way they've been mocked up. They're dice. They're dice for a tenner. That's not bad. But you only get 5. So yeah, probably Q Workshop. This is where it gets interesting. The Homie bundle, you get your dice and you get some markers, Slav Bravado markers. I'm not entirely sure what they're used for. I should have read more. But to me, they kind of look like your kind of the Russian doll kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I'm disappointed. You should have a bigger one, a little one, each of them to put in.
Yeah, absolutely. And then actually the one that they heavily advertise on scrolling back up is the Bling bundle, where this is where it gets interesting again. You get your book, you get your markers, you get your dice, you get the GM screen, you get the PDF, and you also get the video game.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure I really care much about a video game, but I do think that the GM screen is worthwhile. So that's not too bad. And then you've got the 2 slightly more
to do with the video game, so you get your logo in one.
Yeah.
And
video game logo type.
Yeah.
And then this one you get your logo type in some, I guess it's to do with where the logo shows up, looking at it. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but I'm thinking kind of like the kind of Blade Runner brand stuff. I'd love to say that we have the budget that I could do this with the Dark Orb, but nope.
In the select voucher, all you get to watch is the Dark Orb channel.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of what would be considered the fill level, I'll tell you straight away, it would be the Bling bundle is what I would get if I were to back this and money were no object. The reason for that is, as I said, the GM screen. And in fact, let's have a look and see if there are add-ons. There are, in fact, add-ons, I think. So
Yeah.
15 quid for the GM screen. Probably, actually, being honest, what I would probably do here, I've got some STL minis as well, is I would probably back it at... I actually have enough dice. I'd probably back it at the Gopnik bundle level and then just add the GM screen. That's probably what I would do. What about you?
I probably would do that. The one thing I do quite like, and I didn't realize GameFound does this, you can split your payments.
That's new. Yeah,
Yeah,
we just
that was
added
something I
that.
noticed. So if you don't want to do the €1, you can pay like €0.50 one month and €0.50 the next month.
Yes.
That's the Bruce Line cheap level.
Are you Scottish by any chance?
If I could get it for free, I would take it.
This is where you're going to do GoFundMe page for the supporter level. When he says a little plus sign on that infographic would have helped lots. Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
wrong. They might say a little bit more in the more info actually. Let's have a look. Nope. Your logo type in a video game, basic version. Okay, what does that mean? And then this one says your logo type in a video game, Slavic Punk Old Timer Premium version. Your guess is as good as mine. So yeah, I think if I were to back this, I don't need the dice. I don't need the markers. I would probably go at the physical book level because I actually really like the style of this, and then add on those other things. Unless there's, it does say and all unlock stretch goals, so theoretically you're going to get all of that other stuff anyway. So that's probably what I would do. What do you think, friends? Let us know in the comments whether you think this is a cool looking game. I actually think as Cyberpunk games go, we've had a few things come out lately. Things like Org from help me out here, Stockholm Cartel. The kind of Morkborg Cyberpunk game. We've got it over there. I'll probably get through actually reading it at some point. But there's a few Cyberpunk games out there. Carbon
2185, I think.
Yeah, I was trying to think what the numbers were. And obviously Cyberpunk Red. Yeah, there've been a few things come out lately. And it's kind of hard to differentiate them. I think this game does a good job of it. It does feel like a different game. It's not leaning heavily on magic and all that sort of stuff. It does feel more like a gritty realism thing. Maybe slightly more towards the kind of mega corporation side. It's kind of how it's feeling, but without the kind of fantasy element. What do you think?
Certainly do feel that this one definitely has that. I would say also the culture side as well. That's something you don't get a lot.
Yeah.
From a lot of the games because they try and basically blend all the cultures into one big town like Night City kicks in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that's Cyberpunk. It's on GameFound as opposed to Kickstarter. Check it out. Let's just very quickly, I just want to double check how long there is left on that as well. So there's 13 days left on Cyberpunk, and I think there was like 3 or 4 days left on the Hieronymus Bosch miniatures. I'm just going to double check. 3 days on that, and Revenant Society. There is 22 days left on that. So you got a little bit of time on those other two. The miniatures, less time. So if you're interested in that, check it out. I'm just trying to think what else we have to cover off. So yeah, I'm going to be at Hammerhead this weekend. Maybe we'll see you at Aircon the week after that.
Maybe.
That could be fun. And I tell you what, there's some cool stuff coming in the post as well. I'm pretty excited about some of the things that are on their way to us. Some people have been getting their dice finally from Paladin.
Yeah. Sadly, I can't access mine right now, but I also got them and the poker chips from Paladin as well. I quite like them. I
can't wait for those poker chips. They are beautiful.
I forgot I had them, so it was a great surprise getting the parcel. I was going, what is this? Oh, wait, it's my dice. And I didn't realize I ordered these as well.
Are they clay or are they plastic?
It does actually have a proper poker chip feel, so it's not like the cheap sort of plastic ones I got a long time
Cool.
ago for
Yeah.
Deadlands. They do feel like proper weighted.
Awesome, because I've got some poker chips from for Deadlands. I've got the Deadlands Noir ones. They're clay and they're awesome. And then they've moved over to plastic with just a weight in them, and that's a bit of a shame. What I'm excited about that we've just been told has started shipping is Vermin 2047, which is by Studio Agate. It's a post-apocalyptic survival game. They did a starter set on I think it was on GameFound as well. 6 months ago or something. Apparently that's on its way. So we'll be looking at seeing if we can schedule that onto the show at some time very soon. Yeah, I guess that's it. We've covered off a couple of great products. I'm very excited by both of them. Watch this space and join us in Discord if you would like to find out whether or not any of us back any of these products. We'll be talking about that in our Kickstarter channel. I'll make sure that link is down below on YouTube and Facebook, etc. You can go back to any of our previous videos and you'll find it there as well. That's it. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please let us know if you have. Please like and subscribe and help us to level the channel up, because we're still trying to get that next ability unlocked, and we'll get there hopefully. In the meantime, it's a goodbye from me, and hopefully a goodbye from Bruce. And we'll see you very soon. And until then, I hope your dice rolls are way better than mine. Thank you ever so much to Mohammed and to Millie for joining. Really a great pleasure to see both of you. And we'll see you all soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.